One of my favorite exercises to make swimmers more explosive with their upper body is to use auditory commands, specifically with pull-ups. Now, in this case, I'm using those high rings. You can use auditory command pull-ups, you can use auditory command jumps, and we're gonna show you a couple other variations. This is a way that we can strengthen the lats and the core while pulling as quickly as possible. On the rings, what you're gonna see is a little bit greater range of motion. And if we can look at swimming and understand that swimmers need good posture in the pool, okay? So they have to have that sort of hollow position while they're actually swimming. They also have to have really strong lats and a very strong shoulder girdle. So that's gonna lead to greater power output from their stroke. So if we can lead to more explosive strokes in the pool, now they're gonna be a little bit faster each specific lap because they're likely going to be using less strokes to get across the pool, okay? So these are some of the big factors. Now we're gonna get into a couple other exercises to help you guys become more explosive swimmers. When we're looking at swimmers, they've gotta be explosive, one, with specific stroke. Two, they've gotta be explosive off the start. Three, they have to be explosive off the wall. So we've gotta think through that lens when we're laying out those specific exercises. So if I have somebody and I'm thinking through, like, let's be explosive in the start. Initially, I'm like, Caleb Dressel, power snatch like 100 kilos. He's probably the fastest starter of all time, or quite possibly the best of all time. So let's use that as a model, right? So if we can think through that, and then when we look at periodization, let's do some decent volume early in the periodization or early in that macro cycle. And then as we break that down and we work through the mesocycles, it gets twitchier and twitchier and twitchier. And this is where this movement will come into play, okay? I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna show you a little jump series that I think mimics the position off the blocks very, very well, but also I think if we're using technical coordination movements like a high hang clean or a high hang snatch, or a low hang snatch, something like that, or even off of a 2-box or a 1-box position, if we use a slow eccentric, that helps teach swimmers how to hold positions and then have that rapid global recruitment. Now, if we're coming off the blocks, if we can visualize Dressel coming off the blocks, okay, we can see how he has his lead leg, right? And Yvonne, you are a Division I swimmer, so you need to correct me if any of this stuff is actually wrong. So I'm gonna do I'm gonna do a skater squat here, okay? I wanna strengthen this lead leg, okay? Oh, here, let's say I do 4 skater squats. And remember, this is to improve our start. I'm gonna do this 4th one, I'm gonna drop this, and then I'm gonna do jumps here. Okay, so we can go through this series like 4 or 5 times. You wanna do both sides, okay, but we wanna focus on strengthening this lead leg. That's where we're gonna be driving and projecting as we come off the blocks, okay? We also do want to understand how our arm swing is off the blocks. I know Dressel tends to have a wider swing if I remember correctly, and there's a traditional method that most people don't use, the Dressel method. So I think you should be factoring that into how you're executing the actual jump so that it has that high transfer over to the block.
Fantastic, very well said. Because like, it's true, you do want to put more weight on your front leg even when you have that bend on the back of the starting block. I think you're absolutely correct.
Okay, so if we're trying to improve our explosiveness off the wall, okay, so let's think about hitting a flip turn. One big concept that a lot of strength and conditioning coaches forget is that there's water. When we do a flip turn, the water removes the stretch shortening cycle from the body. It slows everything down. So in reality, what I think about when I'm training a swimmer is actually going into a deep position, much like they would be when they hit a flip turn. So when they hit that and then provide an auditory command, this will still help them prepare and have a little bit more urgency around how they respond out of that bottom position. And what we're gonna do is we would do like a back squat, full range of motion, okay? Boop, and come back up. I wasn't ready for Earl. Do that, and I'm up, okay? One more, up, okay? So we can hit that for like contrast style training, right? So we can go 3 back squats, full range of motion, rest, or sit in the bottom, to have that tension, and then when the clap goes, come up as quickly as possible. Okay, so you do 5 triples, then you rest about a minute to a minute and a half. Then you would come over to a box that's relatively low. Okay, remember, if I'm hitting a flip turn, this is probably gonna be where I'm hitting the wall. Okay, I'm gonna have that deep position. Now, I wanna think about projection out of this, okay? So we can go to a box to jump towards, or we can come into the camera here and I'll demonstrate a bound. So I would hit those 3 back squats, then I come sit here, rest for about a minute, and I would hit that bound, okay? And one thing to make it more competitive is that over the couple sets that you're executing, you can put markers out there and try to get the swimmer, or if you're the swimmer watching currently, try to get your actual distance to be a little bit further, okay? So you can do that for like 5 doubles on the jumps, 5 triples on the actual back squats. And if you guys need strength training, before we give you that third key area to try and improve and be more explosive, make sure you head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, download Peak Strength and make sure you select on swimming. You're gonna get a full week of training with swimming-based programming to help you become an actual freak in the water. Now, let's get to the last part of the video. Okay, the third key area, remember, we're talking about being explosive with your stroke, okay? We gave you the high rings in the beginning with that auditory command. That's gonna help quite a bit. Another way to focus on great strength in the lats and the upper body is to hit some neutral grip pull-ups. So we might go here, okay? And we can use command if we want, where we go here. We can do that for rapid reps, okay? We can also say, let's go 5 sets of 4 auditory command with a belt, okay, on neutral grip pull-ups and just build up over time. And then we do 1 or 2 drop sets where we're just hitting like 10 to 15 pull-ups. Now, one thing I also really think is fantastic for swimmers is hitting rope climbs. The reason being, a rope climb to me is like a technical coordination movement for the upper body. You're accelerating through that entire strength curve. So it's very similar to hitting the strength curve in the water, okay? You're just constantly moving rapidly. Also, it's gonna slaughter your abs. So you can go rope climbs like 5 or 6 sets, and that's gonna drastically increase your overall lat strength and even your bicep strength as well, which is okay, so you look good in the pool. Now, finally, we're gonna finish this off with my absolute all-time favorite exercise, the miracle grow, okay? So one thing that I notice when swimmers do a miracle grow, they'll tend to do this weird overhead position. And a lot of swimmers, you're in the water all the time, so you tend to lose a little bit of dexterity and you're sort of a little bit wobbly, okay? Oh, I just drilled my collarbone. But you'll tend to sort of just go like in this position here. In full range, you're a little bit weak, okay? Which is also why I think you should all be training full range with the upper body. So one thing that we can do to improve that range of motion and the strength in that range of motion is to have a pad. Okay, so we have a pad as a target point. So if we get here, boom, I hit that and then I pull back up. Get deep, boom. Here, boom. And I wanna see elbow flexion. Oh, there we go. Oh, 2 more. 1 more. Boom. I'm gonna leave that down there. Now, if we train through that full range of motion, that's gonna lengthen our lats and we're gonna squeeze through the trunk here into that hollow position to coordinate. So use all 3 of these different movements, the neutral grip, rope climb, miracle grows. Don't forget about the beginning where we showed you the high ring pull-ups. These are the exercises that you can use to develop that explosiveness with the upper body that's gonna transfer to the stroke. Make sure in your periodization, you hit some good volume early in the training block, and then you get to more intense, a little bit more weighted movements later on in that training block. But if you need help with that, just use Peak Strength, because remember, freaks, if you wanna become a champion, you've always gotta cultivate your power. Peace.